Hello, Divine Souls. I'm Dr. Aisha Khosla, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Cultural Studies and Foreign Languages, GSS DGS, Khalsa College, Patiala. So I'm sure all of you are keeping fine. I've come again with another presentation on Introduction to Anton Chekov's story, The Grief. First of all, let's see who Anton Chekov was. Anton Pavlovich Chekhov was born on 29th January 1860. He was, we can say, a late Victorian and a Russian playwright and short story writer who is considered to be among the greatest writers of short fiction. He was a key figure in the birth of early modernism in the theatre. He can also be called the precursor of modern short story. This somehow produced some complexity in his works, which readers could not understand. But he insisted that the role of an artist was to ask questions, not to answer them. Another thing which is related with Chekhov is realism. He was the first Russian writer to show existential pointlessness in his works. The belief that a story should end with an event as meaningless as possible, shorn of emotions. So now let's see some of his major works. So some of the major plays are The Seagull, Uncle Vanya, Three Sisters, The Cherry Orchard, and there are many others. Similarly, he has written many short stories. Some of them are The Chameleon, The Chorus Girl, The Bet, Grief, etc. Now let us come to the story, The Grief. Now this story is of a poor cab driver whose name is Iona Potapov. He is very poor and he is going through a very terrible phase of his life. He is having lots of grief because he has lost his young son, Kuzma, who died due to illness. Now, being a poor person, he has nobody living with him. His daughter is in another city and he has lost his wife also. So he is in a dire need to share his grief. The first passenger is not interested in his story. He is an army officer and he shows himself to be a very happy-go-lucky man who has no time for all these things. And finally he tells Potapov that we all have to die one day, and so there is nothing very significant if his son has died. Another set of passengers who board his cab, they are three young men who are also least compassionate towards him. They show themselves to be drunkards. One of them is hunchbacked, and he shouts at Iona and tells him to concentrate on riding the cab rather than talk to them. So the poor cab driver has no one to share his grief. In a last attempt to share his grief, he goes to another cabman. But this attempt also proves to be futile. This attempt is futile because the cabman is almost asleep and he thinks that what Iona is telling him is not very significant for him. So finally, in the end of the story, Iona does share his grief, but not with any human being, but with his mare. So the animal listens to his story patiently, and the story finishes there. Now, what is the theme of the story? The major theme of the story is that in this iron age, that is Kalyug, the age in which we are living, we have become insensitive and indifferent towards others. We are so much interested in our own world, so much engrossed in our own world, that we think it's a sheer wastage of time listening to others. We only listen to things which are going to help us in future. But listening to other people or showing compassion towards them is something which is not very valuable for a human being these days. We all are running a race, but why and for what? We don't know. All of us are involved in this race. We don't know why. Because our neighbor is also running the race. Our colleagues are running the race. Our other family members are running the race. And so we are also running the race. In the case of the story, all the people that the cabman, Iona, meets don't have time for him because they are mentally engrossed in their personal races. Modern man is totally alienated and lost. Man is lonely in a crowd because modern age is the age of alienation and loneliness. So, why has Chekov written this story? What question does he ask? The question that Chekov poses to us through this story is, have we truly progressed? Can we consider ourselves successful, happy, and satisfied if we are bereft of basic human qualities of compassion, love, and kindness. All this is leading us to where? And when will all this end? This is the question that the story beautifully poses to us. Thank you.